Okie dokie, so this is the scaffold that you've been given to assist in the breaking down of your evaluation. Now, one of the things that I really want to reiterate is that you must use this document in collaboration with the PowerPoints and with your folio, because the folio is designed so that you talk about usefulness and limitations, validity, reliability, credibility, etc. for every research project you've done. So theoretically, you've written your evaluation and you should be using that material as the basis for looking back and evaluating as a whole. Okay, so please make sure you go back. There is no point doing the same thing twice. Okay? So let's have a look. The first part, summary of your research. As we said in the PowerPoint, it must not exceed 150 words. It is the happy story of your research project. It's the chance for you to outline to your marker what you studied, what was your question, what research you did, primary and secondary, and what your format was for your outcome, and essentially what you found out. Okay, this part is marked for clarity. There's not really much more like judgment and like allowable here. It's only 150 words, so it's really important that you're mainly focusing on the fact that you have, you've got to summarize your project into such a small, tiny little part for a person who has not seen it. Okay, so just remember that they will not see your other work. They don't know what you've done. This is your chance to tell them. Okay, make it nice and clear for them. So, second part is your evaluation of the research process. It's about 750 to 1,000 words. It's generally the bulk of your project, of your evaluation. And that's because the research processes are the bulk of your project. So, this is an example taken from the SACE website where you can see that this person is looking at the process of taking news articles off of the web. They have done some brilliant things in here. They've looked at the fact that it was valid, and they've decided that it's valid because news articles are written in a modern context that provide current information. That makes sense. If they were talking about articles they'd collected from the media from 1852, and they were talking about how they provided a modern context, that would not be valid. Okay, so you need to make sure your judgments are actually like spot on. What is really powerful in this is that they have provided a positive statement. It was valid for this, but then they have been able to show a more nuanced understanding by going, however, these sources were blah, blah, blah. What's really nice is that we're showing an interrelation between sources. So we're showing how this was a superficial source, and then from that, they had to extend into more in-depth sources. So the process, again, is evaluated against reliability in the second paragraph, and we see that there is some development of how this person has learnt information from these sources and from this process of collecting all these articles. So it is important that you look at this example and see how they have gone from specific sources out to bigger processes and collection of ideas, and then refined it down to the very key ideas that they found. So what are some processes that you might consider? Here's a few of them. Things like literature review, source analysis, cross-comparison, primary processes that are collating different types of sources so that you can see that there is an action happening. It's not just the source itself, but it's an action-based process. So here's another one. Again, what I'm loving about this opening sentence is the fact that there is a very nice judgment. This process was highly valid, right? We've got qualitative judgment words there. We've got some qualifiers. It's not just valid, it's highly valid. We know this one's better than the other one. That's great. Ranking, order, comparison, those sorts of higher order thinking skills are very, very powerful in this piece. We want to know to a great extent, to a limited extent, to a minor extent. We want to know best to least, most useful to least useful. Those are the words that we want scattered throughout in the appropriate places. Looking at the work, we can see that the source is evaluated, and then it is used in the middle there. Furthermore, the source provided the basis. Here we go. This is what it's for. This is why it was valid. This is what makes it good. Okay, so we're actually critically thinking, what did I use this source for? What did it allow me to do? Okay. And then we have some questions that you can answer. Okay. So we suggest that you focus on about 2 to 3 processes. For some of you, it may be more. For some of you, it may be less. I know one student in particular has about 5 or 6 interviews. So they're going to talk about the process of interviewing people in one group, and they're going to talk about the 6 different people that they did, because they all have different perspectives and different purposes, different reliability, etc. That's going to take up a lot of words. Okay, so they're going to really focus deeply on that. Then they're going to try and cover some other processes of literature review and whatnot, but they might only really get 2. Some other people, they might actually have 10 different processes, and each one they only want to write 100 words on. Okay, it's really going to be up to you, your level of depth, your capacity, your project, to focus on what you know, as opposed to what your friend did. Don't look at anyone else's evaluation. It's not going to be relevant to you. So you're going to make a judgment, okay? We've got things like usefulness, informative. We have to explain basically, why did you do it, okay? Once you've explained why you did your process, you need to identify the outcome. This is really important. You need to explain what this process allowed you to do. Did it extend your knowledge that you already have? Did it confirm some things that you were worried about? Did it provide a controversial opinion that led you to new thinking? Did it contrast against your other sources? You know, there's so many different things. Have a real look at it. If you're not sure, go back to your annotations where you wrote down what was the key finding of this source. You might also find that you wrote a little summary or journal or something that explained how you felt about this source and what else you had to do, or what it had been useful for. Use this, because this is the basis of your project. Okay. Now, we have the sources and the examples, and we're looking at how the specific sources did what you're talking about. It is so critical that what you do has specifics, okay? Vague, generalized statements are not going to get you the really tight, sophisticated writing that we require for this piece. What we need instead is that you can specifically say, this source did this for me, this source did this for me, and this is why the process was so useful. You must be making clear statements about validity, reliability, etc. Okay, trying to think about, what was the limitation there, what was the strength, how did the currency of the article impact its use for you, how did the accuracy of the findings. Get really technical. Look at your academic research papers and go, okay, well, I noticed that the sample size was this many people. Does that seem right? Tip for young players, academic research articles have to do an evaluation at the back most of the time. So the last couple of paragraphs are actually probably going to be about the limitations of the resource. So you may actually find that you could use some of those ideas as a basis for judging your understanding of limitations and strengths. Now, let's just say part 2, but whoops, outcome evaluation, all right? When you're looking at this, you're really looking at how well you answered your question. So you can see that this person based most of theirs on secondary research because they couldn't find suitable primary info. Totally fine. Because what they've explained is it didn't affect the quality of the research, because what they did was use the opinions of authors, okay, which were based on the key findings. So we've got this really nice discussion here of a person explaining why their findings are valid, why they're useful, why that paper actually has a good position. That's what we want you to be doing. So you're effectively considering, did it answer the question as well as you'd hoped? Was it as insightful and as thorough as you hoped? Was it based on the sorts of sources that it needed to be based on? What strengths and weaknesses did it have? See the other video for more detail about how to prove if it's insightful or not. Okie dokie, decisions made. So we've got a really nice graphic here, thanks to the SACE board, who have made a very nice little acronym for us to use, SAO. So here is our SAO theory. When we're doing understanding of E2, when we're talking about our decisions and our effectiveness of those decisions, we are really focusing on, first of all, establishing the scenario. What was your challenge? You have 5 words to do that. All right, we don't want you wasting words on telling me how annoying something was. Then you give us the decision. You tell us what you did. Okay, there was a problem, so I did this. You explain why you did that. Okay, and then you give us the judgment. Was this a good decision? Did it actually do what you intended? Okay. Following that, you tell us the outcome. What happened because of this decision? Okay, try to make sure that your challenges and opportunities are clearly linked back to your research process, right? Don't just pick up random sporadic ones out of nowhere. Okay, actually think about how your research evolved. There's another video on this for more detail. So the way that you should be writing about this, outline a challenge. One challenge that I faced was the fact that my topic was very controversial with lots of opinions. Okay, there's my challenge, what, like 10 words? Then we talk about the decision. In order to effectively overcome this, there's a little judgment word in there as well. In order to effectively overcome this, I decided to integrate a range of perspectives and formulate a discussion paper that encouraged discussion of the key themes. That was worded a bit badly, so I made it up off the top of my head. But basically something that tells us the action that you did. Okay, then you need to talk about how that improved your findings or developed your outcome. So you might say something like, this was a very effective way to deal with this problem because it allowed all of the relevant perspectives to be integrated and for a conclusion of the most reliable and valid findings to be presented. Okay, then you can talk about the consequence. This made my outcome or my findings much more strong because blah, blah, blah. Okay, sorry, I'm having problems speaking today. So we do that for challenges. We do that for opportunities, pretty much the same structure. Now, challenges, opportunities, we do like you to talk about both. We like you to show that things went well as going bad. If you have more challenges than opportunities, you might talk about more about your decisions made in response to challenges and so on and so forth. But it is really useful if you can talk about these things in a way that is probably about 250, 300 words of your paper, and it's about really bringing together your response, okay? Don't focus on telling us the happy story of your research project at this point. We don't want to know about, the things that went wrong and right, really. We just want to know about the decision in response to them, okay? So here's a really nice example. We open it with the survey is ineffective. Okay, and why is it ineffective? Only at a sample size of 10. Okay, not very good. That's annoying. So what is the decision they make? There it is. They approached the Year 10 home group teachers to distribute it. Okay, why did they do this? To increase the sample size. So they decided to do this as well. They go into some detail here, which is nice. It seemed to be the easiest way to create more reliable information because they had more responses. That's a really powerful comment, and that's something that we should be trying to emulate when we are creating our own responses. We should be trying to show that there is an increase in reliability or a more valid process or a credibility that is being enhanced because of the actions that we've made. Then this person judges it. They talk about how the response was effective, and they're very fair. They say it was effective, but it wasn't perfect. Okay, that's a really nice nuanced understanding there. It was effective, but not perfect because there were some responses that didn't work, yada yada. Okay, what's really nice is the way they close. This in turn, what was the outcome? What happened here? This in turn led to. Okay, here's our emerging key finding. Really nice there because it links it all together.